On the Punch newspaper, emergency plenary, National Assembly moves to shift presidential poll to February 13, probably because some people have begun complaining that at that time next year that they set the date for the elections, it might be coinciding with Ramadan. Maybe that's the reason. Tentatively, presidential and national assembly election was on February 20, 2027. Governorship and state assembly election was for March 6, 2027, and all that. So now there is going to be a shift, or they are planning to have a shift. Read that story, get the details. Nigerians were put in groups according to how poor or how rich you are. That's all it takes. Tell me I'm Bandi because I can't pay bills. that much did not have only DRC citizenship. They may have had DRC citizenship, but they were still clinging to the other citizenship they had from the countries of their birth or so. Some people on social media are saying, why? We should have won on the pitch. If we couldn't win on the pitch, then there's no point. Let DRC go. But the law is the law. If it favors Nigeria, let's just hope that they can pull it off at the playoffs and then get that ticket to go to the World Cup. Anyway, that's the much we can take now. So let's join Rufai Oseni for his thoughts on the headlines this morning.
When I keep telling you that this government has shown that they are not ready to make Nigerians' life better, a lot of people think I'm joking. Do you know that this government spent 150 million on one-day program about women's health, and the capital expenditure for the Ministry of Health was just about $36 million out of over 200 billion. Some are saying that they are hoarding money for election. That's what we are hearing now. But look at one of my colleagues at this one. Hear her break down all of this for you so you can get a full picture of what's going on. Just hear her.
Current expenditure over capital expenditure. What falls under recurrent? Salaries, travel, training, staff welfare, purchasing cars. And when I say this, it's very important especially because of what the ministers are telling us about what is being spent under the capital, what's being received rather, being funded under the capital expenditure for 2025, extremely low, 1% Ministry of Transmission, less than 1% Ministry of Health. However, they're not speaking about the recurring. So let me speak about the recurring for the presidency. Let's go to June, 12th of June 2025, 1.285 billion for presidential athletes. 24th of July, 430 million presidential athletes. 25th of July, the next day, 1.281 billion presidential athletes. 29th of July, 92 million presidential athletes. 31st of July, 3 days later, 626 million. 18th of December, 91 million. 30th of December, 343.9 million. 31st of December, 90 million. All of this presidential athletes. Even if we look further into their books,
so just hear how much cumulative share they spent on presidential athletes, plain. Owing to the fact that President Tinubu has not still told us what made him go to spend over $150 million. That's 150 billion to buy a new plane. Are you hearing the millions they spend on athletes, while on healthcare it's just 36 million? Here further.
Presidency received at least 150 million for banquets in the State House to launch Renew Her, which is for women's health initiatives. Now imagine this, we're spending 150 million on a banquet focused on women's health, and the Ministry of Health is receiving 36 million for capital expenditure for the projects that will actually benefit women's health outcomes. When I talk about this, beyond the fact that we're mortgaging our future and the future of our children, because this is borrowed money, both domestic and foreign loans. When I talk about this, I need all of us to look at this very, very carefully, right? Because you can still go and see the visuals from this beautiful, lovely banquet. I am upset about this because we are being led, in my opinion, that people who care about looking like they are working rather than doing the work itself. Because every naira spent, whether it's 51 billion for a bus terminal that is still not functional till date, a bus terminal.
That's the bus terminal in fact, you know who brought out that case of that bus terminal again? Muiz Banire brought out the case of the bus terminal. He made a comparison of the video of the bus terminal Mr. Wike said he built for about 50 billion. Some are saying it's about 2 or 3 bus terminals, and one cancer center that was built by the Alakija for 34 billion. And you need to see the massive difference. That's the bus terminal she's talking about. And that's minus. You remember how we started complaining about the high renovation cost that Minister Wike said he spent on renovating the International Conference Center that he renamed Bola Tinubu Conference Center now. So you can see how they spend our money.
And 50 million for a banquet, or 500 million for an agency to run ads, or for an advisor to run in a strategic communication.
That one is propaganda. The one she's talking about now is propaganda, because they said they wanted to run strategic communication, global strategic communication for the government. They collected 500 million, while they only could spend 36 million on health, capital project for health.
Save lives. And that is why I speak about this, because capital expenditure is what affects you and I as Nigerian citizens. We have seen where women have lost their lives or the lives of the children they're carrying for less than 50,000 naira. And so we must always contextualize these sums that we are hearing. Because every naira spent, first of all, is being borrowed.
That's just it. So you can see the way this government is spending money. You can see what they're doing. You can see what they are doing. They claim they are making revenue now. We have made our revenue, not oil. But money are not being released to the people. So you can see what this government keeps doing to people. We'll keep telling this truth out there. All right, still many stories making around. So, I got a report as regards Kwara State University, where students were being declined admission after they got into 200 level, after they had initially granted them the admission because they were underage. So we're going to call on the authorities now of Kwara State University that why will you decline students admission because they're underage after you granted them the admission initially, and then you're not offering to say, okay, if it's to pay for their pre-degree program or something, you're going to pay for it. I think that's injustice, and that's the level of injustice that happens in this country. I mean, if we don't talk about it, we don't move forward. That was how the Kwara State government also came out to say that less than 30 people, about 30 people thereabout, were kidnapped in Kayama, Woro. When over 100 people were kidnapped, it took the bandits to come out and make a video that over 100 people have been kidnapped. Till date, the government has not done anything about it. There's another community on you. The bandits have even written a letter, to come and attack. And when you look at it, it's just very sad that all of this keep happening. The government is not there to protect them. Where you expect the government to be able to nip all of this crisis nip it in bud, then they don't do anything about it. Only God knows what will be the lot of those communities that bandits wrote letter to, but they might likely come to attack in in Kwara. So, and as we're talking about this in Niger, another 46 people were killed over the weekend while the president was watching the Agogo Fishing Festival. Yes, the president could watch the Agogo Festival and see the person that got the biggest fish with about 60 kg of fish. But the question we should ask is, how has it bettered the lot of people? How have we tackled insecurity? People are dying. People are dying, and the government is busy concerned about other things. People are dying. The government cannot release money. Okay, they claim that they've done well with the CBN, that there's about 49 billion in reserves, that the CBN does not, defend again and all of that. But as of last year, they still spent about 8 billion defending. But it's the sense since the start of this year that they are even becoming a net buyer of forex, and that they've been able to stabilize the market, but at the expense of not being able to do projects, at the expense of giving the Ministry of Health just 36 million, despite the fact that they need over 200 billion for capital, at the expense of spending billions on the presidential fleets rather than giving money to the people that truly need them. I mean, these are the challenges we keep talking about, and people are suffering. And we must have to state the fact that people are suffering. We can't say it enough. The government should be able to do something about it. Stop the level of insecurity. Stop the pain. Stop the killings. And please give people transparency in the election. This week, you're going to have the lawmakers come together and decide on the electoral system they are going to go for. A lot of them want to go for the Senate version, where the Senate version talks about the fact that there's going to be electronic transmission, but if there's no network, that they will have to go the way of manual. We're saying there should be total electronic transmission. But we're going to see what's going to happen in the coming days. but we must be on their toes and we must speak truth to power and constantly challenge the leadership and challenge the status quo.
I had a couple of stories making around. So leading up to the elections, Mike Guinea, if you remember, a former INEC chief, Mike Guinea, has come out to release a very damning report, even against those that are saying you can't do electronic transmission. In fact, he said in his words that leading up to the last election, that the NCC did a survey and they said that you have 2G and 3G network in over 97% of the parts of places in Nigeria. So for the what is it called? National Assembly, they are saying that the reason why they did not sign fully electronic transmission, that they signed a proviso that you can do electronic transmission on manual, is because over 90 over 70% has no broadband. Please, Senate, you guys think we are daft. We are not daft. You don't need broadband. What you need to be able to transfer or transmit just 700 kilobytes, not even up to 1 megabyte, is between 2G to 3G network. And leading up to the last election, Mike Guinea said NCC did a survey and they discovered that we have 2 to 3G in 97% of the country. So let's stop deceiving ourselves. And they've even made contingency plans for the 3%. I didn't say that. Mahmoud Yakub said that in the last election. So your argument is dead on arrival. Argument is daft. It's when an argument is illogical and you're trying to stress it, is daft. An argument that you see as you are making it, there are a lot of loopholes that make you look funny. The argument is daft. So whatever arguments they are making, it is because their political leaders are deceiving them, because they feel that's the right way to win elections. And this might even make the argument further that it's for their own benefit that a lot of them do not come back to the house. That leads to institutional memory loss and things like that. So it is better for them to ensure that you have electronic transmission so that you can have clarity and transparency in the election process. But guess what? They don't want that because they have never won elections. They have never won elections. And when you look at it, for them, it's always using the courts and using all paraphernalia and power to get it. Because you know why these politicians want to win at all costs? Because they've committed a lot of blunder and a lot of fraud that once they leave office, forget it. Look at the people in the National House of Assembly. Those that are saying we don't know the electoral. Go and look at their file in EFCC. It's just because we have become a country that once you are aligned with powers that be, they keep your file. Most people officially coming out to support evil in this country because they have heavy files in the EFCC. If there were true justice in this country, a lot of them should be in jail. A lot of them should be in jail. So all of this is political survival. So when I see some people coming out and saying they are openly supporting this administration, let us see their file in the FCC. You know what I'm talking about. So a lot of them do it for protection, a lot of them do it for money, a lot of them do it for all sorts. So Mikey Guinea has come out. Mikey Guinea was that INEC rep that really came out to sell the benefits of BIBAS and IRF to Nigerians, but it was disappointed in the last elections. So let's stop deceiving ourselves. Personal deceit has never taken any country anywhere. It's not going to take Nigeria anywhere. Another quick story making around is this story of El-Rufai and what's it called, Ribadu. I'll tell you their story. El-Rufai and Ribadu used to be very close. In fact, there was a time that El-Rufai had a presidential ambition before President Yaradua came in. And Ribadu supported him greatly. Only God knows what happened amongst them. And they fell out. When they fell out, things fell apart. Since then, they had been at loggerheads. Anytime they tried as much as possible to fight. El-Rufai went ahead, became governor, reinvented himself politically. Ribadu was in the political wilderness. In fact, I heard a story, a very interesting story, that at the point that Ribadu was gunning for governorship, because he had tried a couple of times for governorship in Adamawa, he didn't get through. That El-Rufai to pull his muscle around supporting anybody that opposed Ribadu.